What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez. I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. As always, Matt, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Zach. Let's jump into it.
All right, guys. Today we're going to be talking about Coach Robert Saleh. Recently, he came out with a list of his 10 coaching lessons that he kind of coaches by, leads by. Matt, I'm not going to go into all 10 of them. Guys, we'll link them in the description. But, Matt, which one kind of stuck out to you the most?
I think number 5 on the list, which is the 3 most dangerous words that you can say is "I got it." And he also goes on to say you must approach each day with humility to get better. And I think that's one of those things where, after enough time in the NFL, when you become comfortable with something, when you've been in a system for a while, it's super easy to get complacent. Coach tries to tell you something. You're like, Coach, I've done this before. I got it. Everybody gets annoyed when somebody tries to remind them of the simple things. But it's drilling the simple things that's going to keep you from neglecting them. You always have to be out on the lookout to, kind of keep yourself at a certain level. And the minute that you get cocky about it, the minute that you stop paying attention to the little details is the minute that it starts slipping up. I think it's really easy, especially, these guys are used to being the best of the best. High school, they were the best player on their team. College, they were probably the best player on their team, and the NFL, so on and so forth. And you get into a comfortable spot, and you've done it enough times that you feel like it's second nature to you. And in a lot of ways that it is. But it's really easy. And we've seen it before. Some of these quarterbacks that go to work with these footwork gurus or these arm slot gurus or these quarterback coaches that are, incredible. A few years ago, we had that with Colin Kaepernick had done that. He had seen this guy that was like going to fix his throwing motion and, all this stuff. And then as soon as a live game happens, you just revert because, you constantly have to drill those things into yourself. And it's really easy to lose that in the heat of the moment. So for me, that one's the most important. What about you, Zach?
I just want to say quickly, I do agree with you. That was a huge one. When I was going through the list, I thought that's such a key aspect to focus on, especially when you're in NFL. I like what you touched on there, that these guys are the alpha dogs. They're the top of the top, at their position at what they do. So it's super easy to kind of get complacent and think I don't have to try too much harder. I already know what I'm doing. For me, I really liked number 6, which was the NFL is a precision league. Every detail matters. How many times have we all heard the NFL is a game of inches? And I mean, we hear it because it's true. The smallest detail could turn into the most, monumental mistake, which could, have a drastic impact on that game, which could then have a drastic impact on the season. So, I mean, just think of Dre Greenlaw. If you let him into the end zone, the 49ers postseason is completely different. They don't get home field advantage. They don't get the bye week. Who knows how differently that would have played out? So just every single detail matters. And when you're, playing this huge game, you can kind of get lost in the mix, but I think it's very important to hone in on your craft and focus on every single aspect of what you do, know why you're doing it, and know, what the guy next to you is doing. Every single thing you need to do, go down that checklist every single time, because if you miss a couple of those boxes, suddenly you're a huge liability for your team, and these other guys are striving to kind of make up for your deficiencies, and that's definitely not what you want to do as an NFL player. Matt, what is? I know you kind of went through this list on your own, but what does this entire list tell you about Coach Saleh and just his style?
Well, to your point, the same thing could be said about that Atlanta Falcons game. If we keep them out of the end zone, that it was right there on the line. Then the Falcons don't, and then we don't. Week 17 is a non-starter. We've already locked it up, So again, the NFL, it really is precision. What the list tells me overall is that Robert Saleh is a very detail-oriented guy. He's a passionate guy. Some of the others on his list are invest in your team. You want to buy into your team and be a team player and all that kind of stuff. Again, he admits that the process is hard, that being a coach is hard, being a player is hard. It's all about keeping your head down, your nose to the grindstone, and always working on those details, all those little things. And, if you can work on those, it's kind of like one of those things where, practice and game planning should be so hard that when it comes to Sunday, when it comes to the game should be easy. I equate this to the UFC, where it's like fighters train in their training camps and they break themselves down in their training camps so that when they get to the real fight, that's the fun part. That's when you get to go out there and show all that hard work you've put in. And it goes back to, hey, if you're up at 5 o'clock to train, there's somebody maybe that's up at 4:30, and you just got to do the most that you can do to get yourself prepared and to make sure that there's no excuse. If another team beats you, it should be that they just were better that day, not because you didn't prepare enough, not because you weren't paying attention to the details. And I think Saleh approaches it that way in his coaching styles, to where if the team did everything that they could and they just got beat, I think he can live with that. But he can't live with players coming unprepared or even being unprepared himself. And it shows with just the passion he has every week on the sideline, that he's there, he's in the moment, he's prepared, he's put everything into it that he can. And, win, lose, or draw, he's coming out there to kick some ass.
Yeah, definitely. It's about doing all you can do to make sure that you're not the reason why your team lost. Obviously the NFL, it's a team sport. No one player is, responsible for a loss or a win. However, there are certain times where you could put your team in a position to lose because you didn't do your job correctly. So I totally get what you're saying. For me, I thought it said a lot about just his approach to not only coaching, but as a leader. A great leader has structure in place, has all these processes in place to where not only lower coaches, positional coaches on his staff, but also the players know, even if Saleh is not here, we know what he expects of us. We know what we come in to do every single day because the structure is already here. And that's what the best thing any leader can do is set your players, your employees, whatever level you're a leader of, set them up for success. Do everything you can to make sure that they have every single step there, all the tools necessary. And even when you're not there, they can still get the job done. And I think that's really what this coach says, what this list says about Coach Saleh, is that he's doing everything he can to make sure that the tools and the equipment, whatever these players need, is there. And they can, take it, use it, do whatever they need to do to find that success on an individual level and on a team level. So I just thought that it was a really good insight into how he operates as a coach and a leader. Kind of a little bit off topic, but go ahead.
Yeah, and he's like that high school coach that everybody had. He's a living embodiment of the high school coach that says football is like life, basketball is like life. There are lessons to be learned that will carry over into both, and it seems like he really lives that. You hear it, it's cliche, but he lives that cliche and he makes it into something that, instead of sneering at or not taking seriously, he's bought in 100%, which means his players buy in 100%. It's one thing to talk, but he walks the walk every day. And you see it again. He's so fired up in everything that he does, and he's so detail oriented in everything that he does. And this just kind of backs up my belief that Robert Saleh should be on the short list for a team to hire as a head coach, because it's just the way he approaches the game. He's going to be one of those guys that can go far because of his approach to the game and the detail and the care that he places into his game plans and preparing his players, to go to battle on the football field.
It's so funny you said that. Was literally going to be my next question. Do you think that this proves that he's almost ready, if not already ready, for a head coaching position? And I think I just got your answer. He should definitely be considered. And it would be a big loss for the 49ers, but I would like to think they'd be able to overcome that and find a guy who's able to step in and fill the void. But I say hold on to Robert Saleh as long as you can. This guy has succeeded at just about everything he's done in life. He came from like an investment banker or something like that, if I remember his story correctly. And just the fact that he's able to just have success at every level of where he goes, no matter what career field he's in, I think speaks to him as a person more than anything, because that goes down to the type of person and their work ethic, how they come in every day, clock in, clock out, do whatever they need to do to succeed. And that's not something everybody has. And that's something that the 49ers should continue to hold on to as long as they can. Obviously, if he has head coaching opportunities, they should let him pursue that. But until then, the 49ers have a great defensive coordinator on their hands. And I just think it's great because they have a fantastic defense. And who better to man that than Robert Saleh?
Right. Yeah, he is going to be a head coach, and it will be a tremendous loss when it happens. But again, He's the guy that should be on everybody's short list. And they talked about him a little bit this past offseason. And, that didn't end up happening. I think the Browns had publicly expressed interest, but he wanted to stay. I'm sure he feels like there's unfinished business from the Super Bowl and he wants to see how he can do. But once he gets into that position where he's a head coach and we start to see this Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, as it were, kind of extend out, I think the sky's the limit for him. He has succeeded at every level that he's been at. And it's an amazing turnaround from when 49ers fans a couple of years ago were calling for his job just because he didn't have the personnel to compete. It's one of those things where, they probably overperformed even because of how well prepared he was. And you saw the same thing on the offensive side of the ball. There's no reason George Kittle should break the tight end single season yard mark with CJ Beathard throwing to him. Like, there's just no way that should be a thing, especially when he was the only target on the team, really. So, but it happened, and that just goes to show if you prepare in the right way, you can overcome some deficiencies and become better than, the sum of your parts.
Yep. And guys, with that, we're going to end it here. Let us know what you think of Coach Saleh in the comments below. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Our handles are on the screen. And subscribe to the channel. And like I said, leave some comments below what your thoughts are on this matter.
And go ahead and hit the notification to get all the news that you want from us here at 49ers Hive.
Thanks, guys.
Go Niners.